Sukkah daf lamed aleph amid aleph. Ton Rabbanan Sukkah Gzula v'Mesakich b'Rishus Rabbi Rabbi Eliezer Paiser v'Chacham Machshir. So you have what? A Sukkah Gzula, or if you make a Sukkah in the Rishus Rabbim, which is also stealing from the Rabbim. Rabbi Eliezer Paiser v'Chacham Machshir. What's the shayla? Rabbi Eliezer says it's no good, not a good sukkah, and Chacham say yes, good sukkah. Why? Amar Nachman Machlokes bishe Tokif es chaver v'yitzim eisukasai. Okay, so we're talking about where the guy just like took his friend and just like bounced him out of his sukkah. So what? So Rabbi Eliezer holds, like we learned in Daf Chav that a sukkah that doesn't belong to you is a problem. He holds a sukkah gzula. Even if you borrow a sukkah, Rabbi Eliezer holds, we don't hold that way, Rabbi Eliezer holds that it's possible. So that's the problem, simple problem. So the Gemara elaborates. So either way, it's not yours. The Gemara is going to say, basically, the Gemara is going to say, whatever status you do give it, one status is definitely not is yours. It's not yours, right? Okay. So if you hold it, you can, when you steal land, it acquires the status of gzula. So all right, so it's not yours. It's gzula. Is that right? So you're so it's a borrowed sukkah. You couldn't acquire the status of the stolen, so it's a borrowed sukkah. It's not yours. Rabbanon Tamai. Rabbanon no, they hold. All the immediately they gave us if it's sukkah shel chaveru. The karkain and exelis. It's sukkah shuli. So Rabbanon hold that the only problem is a sukkah that was stolen. It's not that a sukkah has to belong to you. So the sukkah doesn't have to belong to you. So we have to figure out, does this sukkah have a status of a stolen sukkah or not? So since one cannot steal land, anything attached to it, therefore this sukkah has a status of, does not have a status of a stolen sukkah, it has a status of a borrowed sukkah. So according to Rabbanon, Adam Yitzvah Yudei Chayvas. That's the machlokes. Machlokes is where you stole the old sukkah. You bounced on around. Where's there not a machlokes? Avon goes on leitzim. Ich bin der Biala leitzim. That's how you stole the wood, and you made a sukkah out of it. So there, everyone agrees that it's going to be kosher. So now there, so you did successfully steal, that's for sure. You did, land can't be stolen. Wood can't. So you stole it. So so then it's a problem according to everybody. It would seemingly be a problem according to everybody because according to Rabbi Eliezer, well, it's definitely not yours. And according to Rabbanon, well, you stole it, and it has a status of stolen. So why is Rabbi saying that everyone agrees over here? Because we're going to see in a minute is that with the takanas chachamim that you don't have to return the actual stolen object; that you can pay back cash instead. Okay, what's this? So how do I know? Says Nachman that the machlokes is only by where you stole land, but not where you stole the wood. The Rabbi says two cases. So he's saying we are to assume that the two cases are similar. We're not usually every machlokes gets its own bubble, right? So if there was two different machlokes, we would say two separate things. Rabbi Eliezer Paisel, Chacham Machshir. you know, if there's no machlekes, so we can, sometimes put together a whole bunch of halachas all together, even though they're not really any direct connection. But where there's a machlekes, everything has got its own separate thing. So over here, it puts it together, so it seems like it's the same machlekes. Therefore, we are to assume that the Sukkah Gzula is the same as the Masach Rosh Hashanah. So what's that? Rosh Hashanah karka lav dideyu, Sukkah lav karka dideyu. Similar case, just like Rosh Hashanah is not your karka, so this is not your karka. Now, if it's not your karka, so according to Rabbanan, that's okay, so it's kosher. According to Elazar, that's not good, that's not good. Okay. After the committee of Nachman, the Reish Galusa. So this old lady came in front of Nachman. He told him, Reish Galusa v'kulu Rabbanan the Bay Reish Galusa v'Sukkah Gazula v'Yasmi. They're all sitting in a stolen sukkah. Tzav chaval yashkach barav Nachman. She was screaming, and he didn't bother listening. Amrlei itzid havlei lavut last May v'tam nisari avdi tzav chikmeich v'eshkichisubah. He said, Mai's 80 and 318 servants. Avram Avinu, right? It says that he had 318 servants. He says, I'm a daughter of Avram Avinu. I'm screaming and you're not listening to me. Amalu of Nachman Pi'isida. She's screaming. She doesn't know the halacha. Ve'ela ela demei eitzim bilvat. All they have to pay her, they stole it. So what was the story? She explains that the servants of the Reish Galusa were not such honest people, and they stole the wood from this lady. It says Rav Nachman, the halacha is that they have to pay her further. It's true that they have to pay her for the wood. I mean, they stole it, but they don't have to return the wood, and therefore their sukkah is kosher. So why do you only have to return back the value and not the wood itself? Because there's a shavim. Because if we tell every thief that he has to return back to break down his house, to take back the beam that he built into his house, so he's not going to do tshuva. So therefore, in order to make tshuva accessible, so I want to get takana that you don't have to break down your whole house to get out the stolen beam. You give back money. Amar Vinit, Hakshudim Ta'alaza, Ligzula, Abdalay, Rabbanan, Takanta, B'Shem Takanis Marsh. So when it says not only the wood, the schach of the sukkah, there's a Takanis Marsh, there's a Takanis Hashavim, that you don't have to give back the wood and you just give back the money, but even the beams. Let's say you stole the beams and you build a sukkah, so those beams are also covered by the Takanis Marsh. You only have to pay back the value and not the actual beams. Pshita, the Gemara doesn't understand what's the difference. The wood, you don't have to take down the wood, so the beam too. There's a rule that one only make a takana by something that's shachiach. So maybe someone would say that, all right, that's the sukkah. There's the eitzim are shachiach. Still, but to steal the beams, I guess it wasn't so common. So maybe you're thinking of make a takana k'mashmalan of huna that even the beams also make a takana shavim. You only have to return the value and not beam. Hani mili begab shifa, lubasa shifa adabein. Now, so here's the thing, why do they make it the kanas hashavim that you only have to return the value and not the actual, thing that you stole? Because you don't want to make the guy break down his house that he built in order that if he has to do that, he's not going to do tshuva. So when will he not do tshuva? If it's a real thing that he built, like a permanent structure. He built a permanent structure, so he's telling me he has to knock the whole thing down or do tshuva. He said, forget it, I'm not doing tshuva. But if it's just a temporary structure, so then we shouldn't make a takana because it'll do tshuva anyways. Big deal. So you made a structure for a week, so take it out a day early. All right, not the end of the world. So there's a chiddush here. So why? So within the sukkah, you built the beam into the sukkah. Now, it's a temporary structure. So we shouldn't have to go to Zmarsh. No. And that we say, Rashi explains, no. It's a mitzvah. It's like a permanent structure for the 7 days. Okay? It's a concept over here, yeah. It's a permanent structure. It's that type of structure that's like a permanent type of structure. It's a mitzvah structure, yeah. So it's a mitzvah structure. So it's a different type of structure. It's a permanent structure. So that's why so we say, all right, so it does have to kind of smart. Permanent structures have it. This permanent structure is only for 7 days, but it's a permanent structure. So therefore, you don't have to knock down your sukkah to give back the beam to the owners, the original owners. Now, what about the after sukkahs? No, after sukkahs is typically it's no longer a sukkah building; it's Tama building. So then you have to give it back. So that's the Gemara saying over here. During the 7 days of sukkahs, has the kind of smaller after sukkahs. Have to return the actual beam. So it comes out that if you really want the beam back, so don't say anything to the thief until after Sukkot, and then you can get your beam back. And if the thief wants to keep his beam, so you make sure to pay up during Sukkot. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's say you built a sukkah, but you don't just have it for 1 year. You build a sukkah in a way that you'll have it for years to come. You cement it in the beam. So if you cement it in the beam, so that's real permanent. That's not permanent because it's because of the mitzvah. It's permanent because it's permanent. So then, of course, you wouldn't have to give back the beam even after sukkahs. It would be enough to give back the value. Tan, Yavish Pasal Rabbi Yehuda Machshe. Mishnah says that a lulav that is dry, so Pasal Yehuda says kasha. So what's the machlekes? Amarav machlekes beluv d'Rabbanan. We looked yesterday that the mitzvah of lulav all 7 days, not in the base of Mikdash, mitzvah of lulav all 7 days is the mitzvah of the Rabbanan. So. Whereas the first day, it's the rice. So, machlekes about their dry lulav discussion. When is that machlekes? So, Rabbi says, no, machlekes is only by after the 6 days of Sukkot, after the first day. The lulav d'Rabbanan. But, my mistake. Okay, no, what it means is for carrots, right? Yavish is puzzle, so Shaila is the Shaila is by lulav and Esther or just by lulav. So Tana Yavish puzzle the mashal is lulav the abundance of machin lulav lasik ma'asik by hadaf lulav by hadar. We do some machin lulav lasik lasik v'agal the binon. Says Rabbi Chiddush, Chalekes Yehuda Rabbanan if Yavish is kosher, then Chalekes by lulav. I asked Rabbi, we use Torah says Pri Tzadok Gabi Hadar. Dry is no good. What's the shadow by the lulav? Rabbanan hold, make a hekish. All 4 mean together, try to put them all together, the same rules. So it's gotta be harder also. So therefore, Yavish is possible. Yavish is not other. Whereas if you holds, no. Esrog has to be other, lulav does not have to be other. Okay, but Rabbi false. Rabbi has a chiddush over here that Rabbi Yehuda agrees that esrog has to be fresh. The rihakol the rain. So Gemara asks, and so Gemara asks first. Gemara asks from one direction, and the Gemara asks another direction. So first question: of a lulav like by Rabbi Yehuda hadar, does he not require hadar by a lulav? Also Rabbi Yehuda. Well, it's not. The Mishnah says Yehuda milamal. It says that if it's nifredu olav, if they they're separated, not attached to the spine well, so then you tie it up on top. Why do you have to do that? My time lamishum the hadar. Is it not because you need to make a nice lulav? You tie it up to make it look nice. That's not why. That's not the reason. Really. Why? Kedutani time different shot. This has a different reason. If it's kafus that's all tied up by itself because that's where he grew, so then great. If not, tie it up. Can be tied up. Kafus tomorrow. Oh, okay. Another question. Does Yehuda really not require other by lulav, by other but not? You know, you must all minute Rabbi Yehuda. Yehuda says you got to tie it up. Not only got to tie it up, you have to tie it up with something that's from min lulav. Why? I can't have this from the boy other. Like that's not the pshat. Not because you need other. Yehuda doesn't need other by lulav. The Amarava. Some word proves not because you need other. How do I know? It doesn't have to be something nice part of the date tree. Even the sieve and even the wood. My time to be Yehuda has some. The kasava Rabbi Yehuda you might look yeah. So the punchline is Rabbi Yehuda holds that you're going to add something else other than min lulav. So it's going to become Yishaminu. There says only says 4. In 5 mean it's Bal Tosif. Okay, but the Gemara adds to this. The Gemara says, because the lulav needs agate. And therefore, it needs to be tied. Therefore, if you tie it with something else, it's going to be 5 meaning. See, if the lulav wouldn't need to be tied, so you tie it, and what do you do? It's not doesn't come 5 meaning. Why didn't you don't mean to take the tie? The tie is just the tie. It's not part of the thing. It's not part of the meaning. But if the Torah said you have to have that, and you have it, so it's not part of the thing. It's part of it. It's part of what you're taking. It's part of what you're taking, and it's not one of the 4 minim. 5 minim, I'll tell you. Okay, so that's why. Rabbi said that Rabbi Yehuda does not need hadar. Why does Rabbi Yehuda need to? You should tie it because he also need to tie it. And why does he hold it needs to be min lulav? Because he holds that if it's not min lulav, it'll be 5 minim. Now the Gemara asks the question from the opposite direction. Does Rabbi Yehuda need hadar by a esrog? Tanya, Arba minim shebelulav kishem shein peichsim mehen kachim esifan leim. What's this? The devil like Porsche, the rim, the over acher. Ushim shein veshim swim. Yehuda im raf yeveshim. Rabbi Yehuda, meisim nekam shayu mavishin esel leim levnei. And Hashem running just like right. That means Yehuda im raf yeveshim shem. I love esel leim. So God brings up Raisa where Yehuda seems to say that a dried esrog is kosher. And basically, my answer is that so it does not need hadar even by a dried esrog. It's not just a machlekes by lulav; it's a machlekes everywhere. By esrog too, it's not sure dried esrog too. And my answer is no. I'm not talking about lulav. But in the meantime, it's all right. That's the shaila of the Gemara. What Rabbi is talking about when he says after. But in the meantime, what did the Brisa tell us? Brisa tells some important dinim. The Arba minim, the same way 3 is not good enough, 5 is also not good enough. Not only that, if even if you don't have an esrog, don't bring something else. See what the chiddush in that is. And another halacha is kabushi. It's like already getting soft. That's kosher, but if it's dry, then it's possible. Yehuda said the dry ones are kosher. He tried to bring proof. He said, "I know the Bnei Krachim. They gave the lulav over to their grandchildren. It was dry like dry. No. They handed to them. They didn't have the love. No, what should they do? They brought it anyways as a zeicher, but it wasn't that they were really it's like that. Oh. What does the Brisa have to say that the same way you can't do less than 4 minim, you can't do more than 4 minim? It's Pashut. This is 4. I mean 4. Come on, it's a chiddush. Yehuda says lulav needs an agate. If you're going to bring a 5th min, you're not going to put it in the agate. Lulav needs an agate. The 3 minim need an agate. You're not going to put it in the agate. So we'll say you can bring a 5th thing, and what's the big deal? It's not part of the mitzvah. You just separate. It's not part of the agate, right? No. Even though it's not part of the agate, don't bring a 5th min. The Rabbi said, like we said, that you didn't find it. This week, don't bring pomegranate to parish, nothing else. Like to Yomar, when in fact to Yomar, Pshita, of course not. It's not what the Torah Spirit's other. Like to Yomar, no. You'd think, no, you should bring something else. Zeichel Esrik. Bring the pomegranate, it'll be a zeichel to the Esrik. But like to Yomar, no, don't do that. Why do you need a zeichel for the Esrik? Bring the pomegranate as a zeichel for Esrik so that people should always remember, you gotta bring 4 minim, you gotta bring Esrik. So why taka not? No. But yeah, I tell people to start bringing pomegranates that people are going to think that we're supposed to bring the pomegranate. So that's not good. Toshma, Ezra Yoshin Puzzle, Rabbi Yehuda Machshir. There's the Rabbi too. Here you see that Rabbi Yehuda's Machshir, even an esrig that's old. So you see that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't need hadar even by esrig, not just by lulav. Rabbi wanted to say that Rabbi Yehuda's the Machlokes is only by lulav. Rabbi Yehuda the only place that Rabbi Yehuda does not require hadar is by lulav. By esrig, he does require hadar. Here we see a brisa even by esrig hayashin because of his machshir. Tivtu deravet yuvta. So you asked on this yuvta if like by hadar. If he doesn't need hadar by esrig, why not? It's a mishnah. Yarek guy has Yehuda meir machshir. Yehuda paisen says if a very green one yarek kaisi. Yehuda says it's possible. Lav mishum l'bayada. Like mishum l'yar paper. Yours is no. It's not pshat because he needs hadar. If it's green like that, it's not ready yet. It's not ripe. It's not. It's not the fruit yet. It's just it's not developed. It's not something less than a fruit. Toshma, sheer ester cotton, not a raya. That we want to prove from it that Yehuda does hold of hadar by estrik, like Rabbi. Shir estrik cotton, Meir Meir Kergas, Yehuda Emer Kebeitza. So Yehuda holds you need a bigger shir, you need like an egg, not like a nut. Why do you think it's a big shir? Is it not because he needs hadar? The reason why he's machmer is because again he holds that it's not fully developed before it's like a beitza. It's not a proper fruit. It's not a fruit. It's not defined as a fruit. Tashma, Gadol, Stein by the Achs, Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda feel Achs versteh Yadav. What's the biggest esrog you can have? Rabbi Yehuda holds, if you hold 2 in one hand, and Rabbi Yehuda holds, even if it's so big that you need to use 2 hands to hold one of them, it's still kosher. Right now, why does Rabbi Yehuda require that it shouldn't be too big? Got to be able to hold 2 of them in one hand. because you need others, and not because you need others. No. The Gemara says no proof from there. Kim na marabo. Love yana v'esek b'sma. Zim l'machal v'esek v'chin v'esek v'suli. But yeah, you have to have the lulav in your right hand, that's in your left hand. Now, if it's too big, so then if you sometimes you need to switch hands. So you're gonna switch hands, and the esrog's gonna fall. It's gonna become a puzzle. You won't be able to lulav. Therefore, don't use such a big esrog. That's what that's why he says you don't use such a big esrog. Not because he needs harder by an esrog. We proved. We had a rice and an esrog hayashim is kosher like a Yehuda because you don't need other. Now the reason why you need to have an esrog can't be too big, so it shouldn't come to fall and become puzzle. Well, Rabbi Yehuda acts of other. So you tell me that Yehuda doesn't need other even by esrog. Why? The Torah says other. I was like, you might know, that's for something else. Oh, that's coming to tell you just which fruit is the esrog. And one of the pshat how we know which fruit is the esrog is because there's hadar. That's how we know what's an esrog. So therefore, he doesn't dash and he doesn't say he can't learn from there that an esrog needs to be beautiful. It needs to be hadar. Rather, because he uses it already, he translates differently. Basically, yeah. He says it's telling me that it's that fruit. Which one? The one that lives in its tree from year to year. And esrog has this quality that it can live on the tree for 2 years. So therefore, it become really big then. But anyways, so that's how the Torah tells you which fruit it's referring to. So if that's what the Torah is telling us, then it's not also telling us it's got to be beautiful, says Rabbi Yehuda. All right.